afternoon, everyone. We welcome you to this Intelligem 2021 fourth edition. We will now begin the session. Mr. Mahadevan, who heads school education from TCS ION, will be the host for this session. Over to you, Maha.
Thank you, Payal. Good evening to everyone. It's a nice evening on a Thursday. First, our apologies that we had to shift it once, but good to see many of you here. My name is Mahadevan, as Payal mentioned. I lead the school education division at TCS ION, part of Tata Consultancy Services. For today, in fact, I just wanted to thank Sonal, every one of you for joining, especially Sonal for agreeing to be part of this whole webinar for the Ryan of schools. Very, very large number of educators I'm seeing are joining from here. So thank you, Sonal, for joining. We will actually start in a minute. We have two people who will actually be part of this whole evening. Sonal will, as head of the group, sort of set the agenda. I would request her in a minute, but before that, I will also have one more speaker. I will anyway introduce him in detail a minute later. You all will know him. Many of you would have watched him already in the last few Intelligems, plus the last few events, could be quiz events across the country. Giri Balasubramaniam. So welcome, Giri, and let me just request Sonal to sort of introduce why we are doing this and what is the overall view of how Ryan Group wants to take this forward, because you've already taken a huge lead among many of the groups in the country. So over to you, Sonal. Just want to listen.
Thank you, Maha. A very good afternoon to all the heads of our school, coordinators, teachers, to you, Maha, as well, and Giri, and the rest of the people on the panel as well with the entire team. Firstly, to prepare our students to be future ready, 21st century skills are important for all our students now and more than ever before. And they not only provide a successful framework for the learning, successful learning in the classroom, but also it ensures that our students can succeed in the world. And where change is constant and learning never stops. And the industry globally demands a workforce with these skills today. And Ryan's being a progressive school and based on our pedagogy, providing such platforms for our students is of utmost importance. And Intelligem is a flagship of TCS ION and has been organizing this national level contest for almost 3 years now. And we are very happy to be associated with TCS ION and with the constant support from Mr. Venguswamy, Global Head, and Mahadevan, of course, with his entire team. And in the past, few of our schools have made it to the finals. And it's been quite interesting to see how the learning and development for these young learners have transformed. And so we are excited for this year's contest. And I would encourage all our heads of our schools, the coordinators and the teachers to encourage our children across the branches to help them and motivate them to participate for this contest. So thank you.
Thank you, Sonal. As you said, we are grateful to you for being one of the key patrons of this by participating in very large numbers in the last year contest. But in general, we also see that your group of schools have taken lead in many other areas related to preparing children for the future. So thank you, Sonal. let me quickly, can you go to the next slide, Shalini? Yeah. So let me now welcome Giri. Giri, Big Brain as he's called, has been actually a key member of Intelligem, right, from when we started it. He's a noted quizmaster, educator. He heads a company called Grey Caps, which actually pioneered educational initiatives, reaching a very, very large number of youngsters, 16 plus millions on. He hosted a very large number of quizzes, more than 9 different. In fact, he's the only one who's hosted at the Royal Opera House. That's something which everyone has to be proud of. As an Indian, as Giri right in front of us, he's there. So that's a fantastic thing. He's received a very large number of awards and has been personally mentored by the late Dr. Abdul Kalam. In fact, as an alumnus of the Harvard Business School, he's been one of the, how do I say, thought leaders in the industry. He has been very creative in suggesting how many of some of the aspects of Intelligem itself should happen, because given his wide connects in terms of understanding the children, understanding how such kinds of engagements really happen, because he's did a very, very large number of quiz shows. That's been extremely useful. Right now, he is actually an administrative fellow serving at the Department of Education. So he's taken on a much larger role right now, which will impact learning and education across the state of Karnataka. He is right now working on educational policy. One of the key areas he's also focusing on is sustainable development goals. That will be of interest to many of you in the call, because I remember Ryan Group of Schools conducting the Model United Nations in such a scale, which I don't think anyone else has ever done. So that was a fantastic one. So sustainable development goals by UNESCO, that is something which he is now see how to implement. So thank you. Welcome, Giri. So we request you to just share your thoughts on the skills and why these skills and what are your experiences. Come.
Thank you, Maha. Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Maha. Thank you so much for having me here. Thanks to Sonal. It's really nice to see groups which are genuinely taking actions on being progressive. I don't mean to sound condescending, but as an educator, I visit thousands of schools, we quiz thousands of them. You find everybody saying, we are a progressive school, we are a modern school, we address the future. Very few actually take steps to do things to achieve that. To that extent, I think it's really something that I appreciate of groups like y'all, because you've genuinely taken steps. I've, in fact, personally seen Sonal at these Intelligem events, taking keen interest to see how students from their different cities who show up there perform. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of things here today, very briefly, to underline why people like me look at 21st century skills as something important. We're all people who are trying to create a better future for our children, our school children, our country's children. That's a given. But how do we go about doing it? And Solan rightly said when she was giving her introductory opening remarks that it's important all the more now than ever before. And I quite, cannot disagree with that beautiful 3 words in which she's put it, because the world has changed and changed dramatically over the last 2 years. People are going to look at the future very, very differently. Collaboration is no longer going to be a choice. We are going to live in a far more interdependent world where we slowly start realizing that gone is an era when a pandemic hit one state, one country, one continent. The only difference between whatever happened with corona and the other viruses of the past is it hit the whole world at the same time. And that's the world in the future that our children are going to be part of. Make no mistake, this is not the last pandemic that mankind has seen. There are going to be many more, hopefully not in our lifetimes. But the whole idea is to keep these children prepared to face such situations in the future. So I list in my mind 3 or 4 reasons which are very, very important. The first among them, in my view, is being a global citizen is no longer a virtue or a choice. You're born in this world, you're a global citizen. Life is going to take you to different places. When it takes you to different places, are you prepared for it or not prepared for it, is pretty much going to decide whether you are going to be successful or not. So I don't really see a divide in any major significant way between even rural and urban. I'm today working with Government of Karnataka, as Maha mentioned, and I mentioned, I think, Maha speaking about model UNs being organized by the Ryan Group of Schools. Fantastic. That to me is an expectation from a group of school like you. Yes, the manner in which you do it, the quality of conversation in that obviously would be of a different level and a benchmark for others to eliminate. But I have been reading reports since the schools are just opening. I've been reading reports of past activities at schools in rural Karnataka, and I have found at least 40 rural schools where they have conducted model UNs. So it's no longer that it's a privilege of the elite schools, which means the aspiration to be global is global. It's no longer something that is affordable. It's no longer that is wisdom. It's no longer something that only people who think they can get there can get there. Anybody who aspires to and has the will can. So my first premise is the competition, therefore, on the global stage is going to be phenomenally different. And I'm underlining that word, phenomenally different, as we move forward. We all prepare our children for examination environments and so on, where at the end of the day, we may be a very large country with very large boards like the CBSE. But technically speaking, we don't think that the child writing a class 12 or a class 10 is actually competing with a class 12 kid in Bangladesh, with a class 12 kid in Vietnam, with a class 12 kid in Canada. Because at the end of the day, when they're going to go out into the world, everyone's going to be looking at global talent at some point in time. That's fall backwards, our responsibility as educators to prepare them for that world where our 10 standards, our 12 standards can compete and stand up to any other 12 standard anywhere in the world. That is global preparation. The second thing that I think makes something like this so important is the very fact that NEP is strongly advocating 21st century skills. It's a fantastic framework, and I've heard a lot of speakers on NEP, pros and cons of NEP. The way I see it is in a very simplistic way. You have a new education policy, and trust me, through humanity, there has been no policy which is perfect in any domain. So there will be the gives and takes in any policy that one would want to look at. So let us be very pragmatic to work on what we have rather than keep wishing for what it should be. And if we are to work on what we have, I think there's a beautiful blend for schools like y'all, for whom actually 21st century skills, NEP is not going to be anything new. It's almost like what you'll have been doing for a long time is actually becoming a policy in this country. Y'all are doing a lot of things which would actually be part of NEP. But today it's a mandate. Today it's a requirement. Today there's going to be an expectation that you deliver it. So you will therefore have what I call the head start to take on such skills and to develop your students in that direction. The third reason, from a student perspective, why I feel something like this is very important. We've seen the school side. It's important for y'all. It's important from a board and a curriculum point of view. From a student perspective, I've always believed such programs are extremely important. And a lot of children, a lot of parents ask me, sir, Big brain, whatever they call me. They used to call me sir 15 years ago. Now kids call me big brain. That's all right. As our children grow, they grow differently. So some of these kids actually ask me, why should we take part in such competitions? I always give them a simple answer, and that's applicable for 21st century skills and intelligence and so on. Today, most of them aspire to be part of international universities at some point in time or the other in their life. Some as early as taking a SAT and going abroad. Some maybe, at a later date when they, probably get an I-20 or whatever it is. But the reality of the matter is, when you want to get into those kind of universities and when you want to get into higher education, these universities are not looking only at your marks. In fact, they're looking more at what else did you do in school apart from getting your marks. The answer to what else you did in school requires methodical intervention over time, methodical participation in events such as this, which helps you build a global view to your own biodata. We wrote probably our biodatas when we were well past 30 or whatever, and many of us did not even rewrite it. Some of us stayed in our same jobs. Today's kids write biodatas when they are in class 9. They need a profile when they finish their class 12. So we've got to start building profiles of our children to make them globally eligible. And to do that, you need to be part of all these things which is beyond the school curriculum. Therefore, it's very important. There's a second reason for a child that this is very important is today, marks don't help people decide whether a child is good or not good. Because most schools have cracked the method of getting the marks. So how do you decide a kid who's got 96 is not as good as a kid who's got 99? All of you as principals will agree with me. Deep within you, you'll feel, okay, this kid may have got 99, this kid may have got 96, but I think this kid with 96 will, probably do way better in life. We feel that way sometimes. We may not air it. But then somewhere there's got to be something which helps people get the admission and move forward. It can't just be only on that index, especially when the marks are the same. So what happens then is people start looking at what else the child did in school. So do you take part in other events? How have you done? What are the certificates? That becomes the tiebreaker, if I may call it that, when the scores are the same. And today we've got lakhs with the same score. So it becomes imperative from a child's perspective to be part of outside classroom engagement programs. That's from the child's perspective. My last point, and I'll stop with that, is from a parent perspective. Today, dear educators, let's accept one reality and let's accept that very well in the nice way. That our parents are no longer the parents that we had, or maybe the parents that some of us try to be. Our parents, with no offense, in my view, are customers. They're customers to an educational institution. They transact with an educational institution like a customer, with customer behavior, customer expectations, customer perception, and customer behavior. You will agree with me. If you sit down and think of the way parents come and talk to you, parents are not like parents of ours who would come to schools and listen to what the teacher said. Your parents will come with questions. They're questioning your teachers, which means they make you accountable to deliver for the growth of their child. In an environment like that, when a parent takes a decision to come to group schools like you, it obviously comes with a huge bag of expectations as compared to other schools. Because if one were to look at it, you are like the branded schools of India. You are the iconic names of India. So a parent who believes that he's investing in a child to be part of an institution like Ryan will have expectations like any customer. You may buy idli at a roadside joint. You're not going to have too much of expectations. When you go and buy the same idli at a Taj, your expectation increases because you're buying at a Taj, not because you're eating the same idli. And that's the difference when it comes to groups like Ryan and other groups like you, where it becomes like the same idli, but a Taj is offering you that idli. Now, in that process, they expect the school to not only prepare the child for an examination environment, They expect schools like Ryan to prepare the child for the world at large. And that is where these things become part of a parental expectation as well. It's another matter that the parents do not have the time to prepare their own children for the world, and they expect you to do that. That is sometimes the harsh reality that we need to live with. Schools today have to teach values, schools today have to teach ethics, schools today have to teach them to take the examinations, and schools ironically have to also teach them to behave with their own parents. But that's the truth sometimes. Now, rather than complain, we could see that as opportunities and say, fine, we are equipped to do that. Let's do that for the good of the future. At the end of the day, one does not want to have a mindset and say, no, this is not my area. This is not my place to do this. This is not my turf. If we are capable of doing it, why not do it? If we do not have the wherewithal ourselves, why don't we partner with someone to do it? So my way of looking at it, educators, is if our clear definition is to prepare our children better for the future, like Sonal put it, I think all of these become imperative for us to bring into our systems. I must use this opportunity, and I've done this wherever I have been invited to speak on these digital forums, be it government, be it private forums like this. I think if there is one community after doctors who has not been thanked enough in this country, I think that's the teacher community of our country. Hats off to all you educators. Even the hospitals probably paused for a few days, but I don't think the schools ever paused. Someone once told me the schools are closed. I said the schools are not closed, the buildings are closed. There's a difference between the two. The schools have always been open, I said. So hats off to all you principals, educators. I think you really stood so silently and helped this nation in manners that no one ever imagined. And the amount we have all learned because of this pandemic, whether it is simple PowerPoint or whether it is anything else, is remarkable. Let's take this journey forward and create a wonderful century ahead for our children. Thank you so much for inviting me. Always a pleasure to be part of these initiatives from TCS. Who better but the Tatas to lead the way in such areas. Truly glad to be here with Sonal as well. Thanks, Sonal. Thanks, Ma, for thinking of me and having me as part of this. Truly appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Giri. Wonderful listening to you. The different perspectives with which we should look at it. In fact, I should be extremely thankful since we gave you very, very little time to sort of be part of this, and you gracefully accepted despite your commitments. I know that you have to move for the government, etc. But thank you again. Fantastic. In fact, for everyone who's listening, I made some of these notes. I will share the presentation also. So you all can just be part of this. And then, so let me just take you through in the next 10 odd minutes. I'm not going to explain this particular slide because this is something what everyone knows or what we have just sort of talked about right from John Dewey. I don't know if some of you know what John Dewey has talked about is today 105 years old. So he talked about whatever his idea of teach children for the future in 1916. So that's just 100 years plus. Or futurist, or let us say Robert. Any of them keep talking about the need for educating very different, and everyone has a different idea, right? Shalini, go to the next. So that's when we said, how do we really enable a thinking to evolve beyond basic education, and how do we help create, identify the gems for tomorrow? So initially it was about identifying the gems of tomorrow. Then we said it is not just needed enough to identify, but also help prepare them for the future. So what can we do identifying these gems who are hidden in every school, in every classroom, in every city age in the country? So that's the goal and vision of Intelligem. As the name says, we want to identify and nurture and prepare these gems for a brighter tomorrow, because they all will go on to become the leaders the nation builders in the future, because it is their world. What we are going to hand over to them, or we are handing over at different points of time, is something which we want to be confident that they are going to take it very different. But given whatever is happening, I think we are well on target. Go to the next slide. So one of the things that we said, how do we go about doing this? So we said there are multiple different ways. We created a contest kind of a mode, because children love contests, children love showing off their skill sets, and etc. But also, there are definitely a set of people who typically take the lead, and then they show it to others, and then everyone else joins. And that is something which is very easy to manage through a contest kind of thing. And then we said, which are those areas and topics which we should consider, because it has to be engaging enough. And we took these 5, like what Giri talked about in the starting. Global citizenship, everyone is born to a world where you don't have a choice but to interact with and everyone connected across the world. Today, we use our phones to speak to people across time zones, across cultures, with or without even knowing, right? Now, how do you respect? How do you work with them? How do you interact with them? Because today's children, today's even youngsters in colleges, they are on day one connected with not just people within their city or state, which used to be 10, 20, 30 years back, but within the countries of. So that is why this becomes a very critical area. And given that many of the schools have already taken United Nations, model United Nations kind of approach to doing this, we felt that this is a good opportunity. But the second most important was on the financial literacy. We said today's children need a good understanding of how money, value, and transactions are changing. 20, 30 years back, we only used to have cash. Then it became plastic as cards. Then it moved into, digital wallets. Now it is moving into virtual wallet or virtual currency, where we don't even see the currency. We don't know what will happen in the future. So in reality, it is like what we are going back one whole circle. What used to be barter, where there was no money, it was just exchange of goods. That is what is now happening through the virtual currency. So, but what are those implications of it? And instead of even going to that level, what is the basic implication of even knowing the value of something? I'll have some ideas in the next couple of slides on how we can enable this, and how some of the schools whom we have been interacting are doing it. I have put together a set of ideas on 3 of these. I will share that. And then creativity, I don't think I need to talk much about it, because one of the most important skill sets when a machine is going to, when machines are going to play a very large part in the future, is human intuitiveness, which comes through creativity. But creativity, not just for the sake of creativity, but to solve society's problem, to solve and create a better tomorrow. So that we are able to do something with the creative minds, the creative ideas, and etc. And then the last is the communication skills. Today, 20, 30 years back again, we used to send a letter, a postcard, wait for say 15 days to even know whether the postcard is reached. Everything in that postcard is open. Anyone else can read whatever you are writing, but you never know whether it is reached or not reached. Wait patiently. Today, it has completely changed. We send a message, we wait for a tick, we wait for a double tick, we wait for a blue tick, and we also have expectations built on that. But beyond that, we also have to interact in multiple different ways. Today, one of the big challenges which all of us are facing is, how do we run meetings effectively? How do we manage people sitting in different places, work together, create, learn? That's a huge area. And that is why skills, communication skills become very, very. But all of these can be fantastic. Can be a global citizen, we can be a financial wizard, we can be the most effective creator, or we can be an ace communicator. But if we don't have the fundamental values, that will not take us long. So we said we need to ensure that we put these together as a package and then start working with schools, because it would have been easier for us to go directly to students and then say, oh, this is a contest, come participate. But we took the hard way because we believe as Tatas that it is very important to include everyone, the school, everyone in the classroom. While there will be a set of students who will take the lead, others will learn. So that's why the entire contest structure is made in such a way that it is open. So the learning material, for example, is open to everyone else. And it is not that they need to really read and master it and etc. But it is simple enough, but we still ensure that it is open for everyone. Go to the next slide. And then I just wanted to actually just press, I think the animation is wrong. Okay, I'll go here. It's okay, it's okay. It's okay, just keep, Shalini, just go back. Keep only the communication skills. Yeah. So just wanted to go to the next, press. I think no, just keep communication skills. Okay. So one of the things which I've been seeing in many of the schools, I'm actually taking only 3 examples of how some of the schools are looking at creativity, how some of the schools are looking at financial literacy or communication skills. Keep that screen, Shalini, don't change, no problem. So one of the things which I see in many of the schools whom we interact with is many schools have moved or have started really trying to get children talking. Especially in the last 1.5 years, schools have found that it's extremely important to, inculcate good communication skills. Because especially in the last 1.5 years, communication between students, between teacher and student, between school and parents has really had taken a hard beating. And this is one area where they are trying to see how do we really communicate, how do we really enable. One of the things which schools are doing is they are actually ensuring that every kid randomly is picked and then they actually talk about what is happening in and around. It could be sharing news and etc. I see that this is something which your schools are doing it. I have already participated in some of those where morning news is being shared. But one of the things they do is it's a random pick from a set, which means they tell 5 students that you are the ones who are going to speak, but they don't tell which student is going to speak which day. So that brings in randomness, that brings in preparation, that brings in impromptu. Instead of making them prepare and talk, because that's very different from making them being ready always. So that is something which I've seen in many of the schools. And some of the schools have moved from teaching English as a language to English as a skill. This is actually going back to how computers were seen. Computers as a subject versus computer as a tool to do variety of things. Today, we all create PowerPoint presentations. We all create videos. We all create a variety of things, doodles and etc. using computers. But some 20 years back or 10 years back, it was not the case. It was more to teach computer as a subject. I am talking about even in colleges. That is where I think even communication skills, where English, if it is English or whichever language, as a skill versus a subject, many schools. In fact, I was just coming out of one of the meetings with the large government body 2 days back. And this is one focus area which the government is talking about. How do we enable language labs in every school? And these language labs are not to teach language, but teach language as a subject, but language as a skill, so that the children are able to communicate in that particular language very well. And then there are varieties of things I think you all will know. One interesting idea I saw was a role play, but this is not like generic role play. What they did, they put the children into 4 different groups, and then they had, let us say, group 1 communicate with each other using WhatsApp. Group 2 communicate each other using Teams. Group 3 communicate each other face to face. And group 4 communicate with each other on written paper. And then they brought the learnings. It was the same topic, same set of things which they need to communicate and interact and collaborate. And then they brought out what is the learning, and they found out what works well, what doesn't work well, what suits an individual, what doesn't suit an individual, what medium to really use when. And that is a kind of a learning mechanism which one of the schools is using. And this is a very nice way they were doing it. And I found it extremely interesting. This is a school down south. I think that is something which you all can also probably do. And then there is this publishing this class news. which comes on a weekly basis and etc. So that children are able to not just communicate verbally, but also written. And in this case also, it is actually like a random, where a set of students, set of groups are randomly picked and asked to write. And so that many of the communication skills cannot be a prepared one. While it is very important, we need to ensure how do we enable them to be more impromptu. Because many of the thought processes, children are very creative. Children have come up with so many different ideas. The moment we tell them to prepare, we are actually dropping them being creative, being more, impromptu. So that is why these kinds of things I am seeing many of the schools are slowly adopting and finding. And one school in Ahmedabad was actually what they did. All the PTA sessions, the teacher does not actually tell what happened in the class to the parent. The kid who comes along with the parent is made to tell the parent what happened in the class last month or last week or anything. Now, what happens is the kid is able to verbalize, is able to sort of coherently put together what all happened. And this is one nice way I felt that they were doing it, not just for the parent, but they had these kids talk to the entire set of parents in the class, where there were randomly children picked, and then those children were actually presenting to the entire 30 parents in the classroom along with the teacher what happened in our class in the last month. So some talked about the academics, some talked about the activities, some talked about the co-curricular activities, or some of the events and or some of the wins, some of the celebrations and etc. Now that is something communicated by the child or the children. That made them very nice. I think that is something which is we need to integrate into the school system and etc. Now I'll just move to slowly come creativity and innovation. Again, like I said, one of the most important skill sets, and the most, or I would say the largest challenge corporates like us are facing today are the ability to ask the right questions when we are all in multiple different meetings, trying to solve, create a product or solve a challenge in the market or in the business or in any of these. But the importance is how do we ask the right question? But asking the right question starts from school or from home, because you need to enable and encourage children asking questions. Many times we ask the questions for getting the right answers. Here, there are no good answers. There are no right answers. The moment we do that, people come up with lots of questions. When children ask lots of questions, they start understanding how to ask the question in very different ways. And when they get skilled, they become extremely good in thinking what is the problem. In fact, most of those design thinking workshops, which many of you would have already attended multiple times over, start with the problem statement. In fact, the problem statement is all about what is the right question, what is the right thing to solve. And that is a skill, and that skill needs to be enabled over many years. In fact, one of the schools I saw was using, this was very interesting, I never knew this, so I'm just sharing this, what the Da Vinci notebooks. Some of you would have known about Da Vinci, one of the, what do we say, I don't know. He created so many different designs, and he's been a prolific creator of art and many things. But one of the things he had was very keen observation, and always idea or any question which comes to his mind, he used to write it, it seems, in a piece of paper, in a notebook. And he used to use that notebook, carry that notebook everywhere. So this is something which people talk about, or but I have not seen many of the schools really doing this, asking a child to carry a separate notebook with him or her, which asks him to, whenever a question comes to his mind, it could be anything, it could be a doodle, it could be observation, it could be whatever ideas which come to him, let him or her put it on this book. In fact, one of the schools tested it out. This is some 7-8 months back in an online environment, right? And you will not believe, they got more than 220, 230 ideas. This is from grade, I think grade 4 or 5, I don't remember the exact grade. But the point I'm saying is, the kinds of questions the children had put together in those 220 questions really astounded the teachers, astounded some of the parents, and the schools used to use it for actually a mechanism to really start creating something along with the children, etc. And they went on to create something called a 100-question challenge. I think some of you might already be doing it, where on a day, every child comes opens a notebook, whatever question comes to his or her mind, he is asked to write. And this is actually a forced way of doing it. But in this way, you are asking and allowing children to be on their own, giving them the space to ask questions, and also enabling them to think very differently. No right answers. And the answers for many of the questions are not provided by the teachers, are not provided by the parents, but provided by the child himself or herself, or by his or her peers. So they learn from each other, they experiment, explore, and that is how, in fact, they were thinking of putting into certain set of projects and etc. And they actually also, this is the next point is more, I would say, someone taught me, where we need to enable projects and activities which say, create something, design something, invent something, imagine this situation. Suppose this is happening, how will you do this? Or look at asking questions about the status quo. How would you redesign a safety pin? How would you redesign a nail clipper? Now, children come up with ideas, and then children are watching so many things today. They are getting so many ideas, and these are all channels for them to bring out their creativity. One school actually just let a set of some thermocol papers and some toothpicks and some clay dough in one of the rooms. It was actually an accident. They did not plan to leave it like that. They just left it in that room because they didn't have some space or anything. And then they forgot about it for a week because they were busy with multiple activities. And after a week or so, when they went into that room, they found that the children had come and created characters, created animals, created some, figures using those toothpicks and the Play-Doh and etc. And that's the kind of creativity. No one told them to go do it or experiment it or explore it. When children find something to do, they just start doing it. So how do we make this as part of the system? That is something which everyone talks about. The next is all about questions, where today we ask questions and ask children to come up with answers. So this is some mechanism which I found. In fact, Harvard also started doing it very recently. And this started recently even because of this assessments online, where they said, how do we really make this open book exam very different? So one of the ideas someone came up with was, ask them to bring the answers, meaning give them the answers and ask them to frame the questions. And you will not believe the kinds of creative ways the children are asking the questions. It was astounding. I have actually a small note of, I have a picture. I will share it later. The kinds of questions which children have asked for one single answer. There are more than 15 different ways the question can be asked. And the teacher had actually made it as a mind map and then put it. But this is something which encourages creativity. And then the last is, I think, I don't know if some of you must be following it and doing it in some of the schools, but music really, really improves creativity. How do we really enable music, either in the labs, in the corridors, in the classrooms, or during the recess times and etc., depending on the infrastructure? But this is something which research has proven very clearly, that music improves creativity. And many of the design thinking courses today actually suggest that. So these were some ideas which I saw happening in the schools in the country. And these were not schools which were, let us say, IB schools, or not schools with huge infrastructure, or not schools which were actually charging very large fees, etc. These were just any other school. And that is why I thought these are some ideas which can be there. And then on the next is on the financial literacy. There is this thing, I think some of you might already be doing it, which is guessing the cost and value of any product. Pick up a product. The teacher actually walked in on a day and then picked up some, say, tur dal, and then asked the children, tell me how much does this packet of tur dal cost? First, what is this tur dal? Do you guys know about the value of it? How much should it cost? What is the difference between a tur dal cost and a chana dal cost, and etc.? It sometimes looks a little funny, but the children's minds start working very differently, and they start connecting the dots. They start understanding the cost to value. Today, many children are given whatever they ask by the parents by default. Very few parents really question, why do you want it? Or they don't really understand the want. They just hand it over. This is some area which I think most of the parents are also talking about, and schools are also talking about. And then the next few, just come quickly, Shalini, which is talking about budgets. I think some of you must already be doing it. I saw one of the schools I just visited yesterday in Delhi. which is actually doing something called an Uber game. I thought, meaning I heard that there is a game called Uber game, where what the children were doing, they had some pictures where you have to be a driver and you have to pay a loan, because most of these cab drivers who have these radio taxis have taken a loan, and you need to balance number of trips, your incentives, and your mortgage payments. You also have enough to pay for your day-to-day living, and you have to balance it. So they created 4 or 5 different groups and they put them into this. And this was a very nice way, I felt, because children understand value of money, understand prioritizing, understand budgeting, and also understand interacting with each other and taking decisions. They also know how someone else is thinking. Their thinking becomes very rich. And these are just generic projects, and this need not be a very large project, right? So this is something which they did. And one is very focusing on the behavior. The reason I brought this is because one of the school leaders, in fact, whom we are working for the Sustainable Development Goals, they were talking about the need for knowing the value and then knowing when to spend or when not to spend. They were talking about the behavior where today's children, they have an app on their phone. They just, when they want to go from place A to place B, they just switch on the Uber app or Ola app or any of these apps, and then book a cab and go, spending 100, 150 rupees, 200 rupees, when you don't have the rush to really reach place A or to place B. You have other forms of transport, and you also have, different ways of making payment. This payment is done by the mother, by the father, and they don't really see the cash, and hence they use it left, right, and center. This is a behavior which sets in. Many of these apps, many of these companies are doing that as part of a behavior setting. And it is important to teach children about how do we really manage these, because why would someone spend 150 rupees when you can just spend the same in 10 rupees? And that's a very simple thing, which not very easy. In fact, go try talking to many of the children. You all know better. It's very, very difficult, but that is something which we need to really inculcate at the school level itself. And then last is using variety of events along with the parents, because all said and done, financial literacy starts at home, and we need to engage with the parents. Today, many parents do not really teach the value of money to the children. Like I said a few minutes back, and they also expect schools to do this. Now, this is not easy for a school, because schools do not have a financial literacy teacher, right? Schools have a science teacher, math teacher, history teacher. That's what makes it more difficult. Schools don't have a communication skills teacher or a creativity and innovation teacher, because these are not subjects currently part of the curriculum. But with the new education policy coming in, these all are slowly coming into the system, and we need to enable. So at Tata's, we felt that it is important to inculcate these skills, these skill sets and awareness. That's why we said it has to be inclusive, enable everyone. So go to the next. So these are some ideas which I had. So thought of sharing. Quickly, I will finish in the next 5 to 7 minutes, and then ask for questions, suggestions. This year, Intelligem, the event is gonna start actually in the month of November with the first assessments. Right now, registrations are all on. The registrations are closing on the 11th of November. And in the month of November, there will be 2 sets of assessments that the children will go. One question with many schools, teachers, educators, principals, parents, even the children themselves have is, should I not be preparing for this? In fact, one thing which we tell them is, no, you do not need any preparation. You can just come, take the assessments, be part of this community, learn, continue to learn, but you don't need preparation. It is not, we are giving a learning reference booklet just for reference. The reason we call it as a reference is actually it's a reference, because you cannot test a child's, ability to be creative by preparing him for, say, a few years. Yes, that's a process, but you need to start somewhere. So we say that anyone can come. So what we have done is create those set of questions. One, to encourage children to just come and explore. We have kept the questions at pretty base level. They are not really hi-fi questions. Second, we have kept them at scenario-based questions, so that it is very simple. Anyone can come and answer. You don't need preparation. You don't need mastering of that booklet or anything. Even if you have not opened that perfectly, okay, because these are day-to-day activities, these are day-to-day situations, and that is how. And hence, it is very important to encourage children. The third round, which is the phygital round, where there will be a one-on-one interview of the child, which is to test their demonstration of that particular skill sets. Because the second round, first and second rounds qualifying only test their knowledge and awareness, but you want to know whether they are also performing. And hence, a set of children who are handpicked from the first move to the third round, and they subsequently go on to get tested on a one-on-one with a very beautiful way. This time we are bringing in games, we are bringing in some comic strips, we are bringing in some very different ways of engaging and testing the students. Students will really love it, and we will be launching it also very soon. But I'm talking about this comic strips and etc. But this is something which we want to really test. You can test the global citizenship using that. You can test communication skills, test their creativity using that. You can test the values using that. So we are actually using this comic strips engagement mechanism, which we will launch in November and then in December, which will be part of this Intelligem for these students who participate. And then the finals, as always, happens in January, on the 26th of January. 25, 26 will be the 2 days. This year also, we will be doing it online. 2 years back, we did it offline. It was a fantastic event. I think many of your school students have participated and were in the finals. It was a great event, but given the pandemic, we had to do it online, which was pretty good last year, thanks to the efforts of everyone, including, for example, Giri, who was in our session. I don't know whether he's still there, he's out somewhere, but his team did a fantastic job in bringing this together within, say, 50 days in the last year. That is something which we are going to do this year also. So this event is for every school. We would want each and every one of you to join. Go to the next, another 3 to 4 minutes. What's in it for you? 2 new things to bring educators into the fold. Every year we have been adding one small facet of the contest so that we are able to encourage and enable everyone to participate. So first year it was just children. Second year we said children along with some community engagements. Third year we said children along with community engagement, some game-based and this year we are bringing in educators to be part of it. So what we are doing is every school which are participating in this contest, that school leader, principal, head can actually nominate a team of 2 or 3, and they can actually present their view on what ideal 21st century school will look like. It could be these skill sets, it could be anything else, but some of you might already been exposed to the CBSE handbook of 21st century skills, and there's a lot of drive happening there. So we said, how do we really get the ideas from the schools and teachers on how they will bring in a culture of enabling these skills within the school, and the best papers will get published and will be rewarded. And we will actually publish it on the 25th of the January, where we will have these teachers or these educators who will come and present it. And this compendium will be made and then shared with all the schools. So it is not only to just get the idea and get your views on one day, but also use it to really inculcate and share it best practices with multiple set of schools, because not one solution fits every school. Every school is different. Every education system is different. Every classroom is different. So that is something which we want to encourage. And then the top participating schools will also be invited to a series of webinars. In fact, on the 29th, 30th, 31st, and 1st of this month, 31st and 1st of November, we are actually having the webinars on what we just saw on the last slide, on some ideas on how do we integrate and inculcate these skills into the school system. We are going to have a independent individual session for each of these on those 4 days, where experts are going to come and talk. You all will receive a communication very soon. We have not sent that communication. You will receive the communication a day or so, and you all should participate. So it's very important, because this is something which we need to do it as a movement. This we need to join together. And then you can see the set of numbers. We want very large number of schools to participate, and I am very sure every one of you will participate. Till now, we have reached 1,500 plus schools who have at least registered for the event and said, I want to participate. We want to make that 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, right? And we want to reach out every single town, etc. Go to the next. Children get a large number of rewards. Children get something new this year, which is one of the new things is visual literacy. This we brought this year because children have spent so much time online and they are now exposed to a huge amount of data. They do not know which is the right set of data, which is not necessarily the right set of data. All of you would have been telling children to create projects and they go on Google and search, and you never know which is the right set of information and not the right set of information. Simple to do with even the visuals, which is fake and which is real. It is very important to enable children. So we are enabling a small module for every child, the visual literacy, because the challenge of deep fakes are huge in the future and we need to enable children today. That is why we are bringing that as additional literacy, and the children get a variety of things. For all the participating students get certain things, all the pre-finalists get vouchers and entry into the next year's event, and the finalists get fantastic set of awards. I'm not going to dwell in deep on this because all of this is available on the site. Go to the next. Yeah, and this is, I just wanted to spend a minute. See, you can see the questions. These questions can be answered by any kid, any child. You can see it is not, you don't need any preparation. You don't need any mastery of any of these subjects and etc. Because many parents have asked us that should I not be studying it and preparing it and etc. We said no one needs to prepare. You can just come, join, participate. So that is how we have created it. These questions are all scenario based. Go to the next one. We will share this so you all get to know. In fact, sample questions are already on the site. Sample questions are there on the learning booklets. Plus on registration, children also get to see. But it is important to bring that information out to the parents because many times they might not even ask that question. They will just think, okay, this is one important contest, but my child needs to prepare. He doesn't have the time, so we'll not do it. Which is where we are saying you don't need any preparation. Anyone can come and participate. Yeah, go to the next, Shalini. This is one very important thing, which is every child will get a report called the Intelligem Quotient Report. This is something which we are actually in very early phases. We want to create the new IQ in the market, where the earlier IQ is all about only intelligence, but the new IQ is about intelligence, social intelligence, plus emotional intelligence. So how do you combine these three? And that is what the new IQ is, what we are trying to do as the Intelligem Quotient, because many of the skill sets which we are bringing are revolving around it. So every child will get a report, whoever is participating at the end of the contest. Go to the next. And this report, in fact, this whole rubric has been created by one of the foremost assessment experts in the country, who recently passed away last year, Professor H.S. Srivastava. But he actually looked at this entire thing and said, this is a very different kind of thing. It is very simple. It is not too technical. At the same time, it is very straightforward. So every child will get this kind of a report. Go to the next. Then just wanted to share, you have been participating all these 3 years. Fantastic. Shruti, Anusha, Srijana from your schools have participated and reached the finals in the last year. In fact, the earlier year, 2019-20, again, there were a few of these students, Mandri, Shreya, Sampurna, fantastic. In fact, all of these students, in fact, this particular lot I'm talking about, 2019, each of them got individual feedback from the judges after the end of the event, which we could not do last year. We did actually in the finals, but it was not from every single judge. That is very important, and we are planning to do that again this year, so that they also go back with what is my learning. And then this is the first year, actually it is 2018-19, sorry for the mistake. And this was the very first event, and many of the schools of your group participated. Mansimran, Trisha, Pritam, Shika. In fact, it's very nice to see some of the schools in the list again and again. For example, this Ludhiana school, Mallard school, you can see it coming there multiple times, Ryan Christian School. So fantastic. All the best to all the principals, leaders who have actually spent time really encouraging, engaging, and enabling the children. Go to the last one. So the date for you all to remember is 11th of November, Thursday. So that with your encouragement, with your guidance, we are very sure that most of the children will participate. And then if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. If you have already created the questions, we are okay to answer it now. Giri, I don't know, is Giri still there on this thing? Or Giri left, I think, because he had to go for a meeting. Yeah, okay, open to questions. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions, any ideas, you are welcome. I would want to actually have someone from our team closely work with all your schools, because one of the things we want to enable is the ideas and thoughts which come from your 100 schools. We want to collect it and give it back to you in a manner that you can use it to build on at a very different. So we want to put a program towards that. We want to create a small community where we enable each of you to come and share, then share the best practices. So we want to do that. We will come back with a proposal for. Yeah. Any questions, please? I don't know. It was a little long. I had to talk for long. Actually, one of my colleagues had to join, but unfortunately could not join. So any other inputs? Sonal, if you are there, I would want to first listen from you, some of your comments, thoughts, and then we'll open the session for.
Hi, Maha. Thank you so much for such a very informative discussion. And even for Giri, he's so beautifully said about, the 21st century skills and why it's important. And for us as Ryan Group, we have already been working towards it. And it's more like a head start. It's more like creating that platform and expanding in that. So thank you so much. And I think it's one of the things the schools would like to know is how should they register? Would that be the children registering directly, or should the schools register?
Okay. So the schools have to go on to Intelligem. Just go to the earlier slide, Shalini. There's this link called intelligem.tcsion.com. Like many of the schools have already participated, registered. On that, you will find two blocks. One, if you are a school, register here. And second, if you are a student, register here. So the first step is the school has to register.
Okay.
And on registering, enter some 4 or 5 details, and then they will get a mail. They will get a code, which is the school code, and share that code with the student. That code is unique to that particular school. And then the students from that school can just put that code, register themselves, then participate. It is as simple as it. When the school registers, you also get a set of message templates, email message templates, and etc. ready-made, where you just need to put some certain words, insert certain words, so that they don't need to sit and even think about creating why, what, how. That everything is made template ready. So that's the process.
Okay, great. Great. I think also if you all could post the meeting, if you all can share the person who will be one point contact for Ryan Group, so that the schools can directly get in touch as well if they have any further queries.
Absolutely. In fact, we will send a mail to all of you today. In fact, I will share it with you tonight, Sonal.
All
and
right.
then we can send everyone who has participated also accordingly with the contact details of the person who will be the coordinator.
Great. Great. I think just to add with what you shared towards your last 2 slides, 3 slides about the names of the students who had participated in the past. I remember this kid from Ludhiana, and her father had accompanied the child for the contest. And he mentioned to me in my discussion that it was his first time ever that he had boarded a plane. And I found that so overwhelming. And I told him that I'm sure it's definitely not going to be your last, because it's your daughter who's given you that opportunity. And even for Trisha in Malad, Ryan Malad School, I remember how she got herself together, and she was so excited, participating at all levels. And towards the when she reached the national level, and she didn't make it in terms of to win the finals, and she was a bit disappointed. And I told her that, what I love is to see the excitement, the energy in the manner that she participated. And she was so excited, to kind of experience the whole, all levels of that competition. And I said, it's not always about winning, but it's all about the experience that you achieve, because that is going to help you and it will transform you. And I'm so glad that she did that, and she has passed out from the school already and doing well and excelling in what she has picked up to further, in terms of pursue further studies. So I think I would encourage all our heads of school that this is something great. It is not like any other competition or contest. It's different. And that is why, and because when like-minded people come together and offer this on the platform for our children, it definitely shows great benefits. So I would encourage again, and before we wrap up, thank you for joining in today. And please speak to the students of your branches, and it will be great to see a lot of children from Ryan's participating. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maha and Giri.
There are quite a few questions from them.
Okay. Would you have a few minutes to take that on?
Yes. I'm just trying to think. Any extra information for children or school student already registered? When will the details of contest share with students? So this is from Pallavi Nigam. So the question is, are there any extra information for those schools which have already been registered? So there are three sets of information. First is, for all the schools which have registered, you will get a mail regarding that teacher webinar session, educator webinar session on each of the skill sets and how you can really integrate it. This is on 29, 30, 31st and 1st of November, the first 3 days in October end. So you will get that mail. This is for the educators. Second, for the educators, that event which we talked about, you can model what a 21st century school looks like, and how it will work. That is something which we are enabling. So you'll receive that. And third is the assessment dates which they will get. Otherwise, many of the students are already part of a Intelligem community. Whoever has registered, they're already participating and sharing. There are leaderboards which are going every in terms of the performances. Some of your students are already there in that. So that is, I think, these three, I hope I have answered the question. So that is one question. The next one is, I think, for all the contests, we will actually share this single point contact. We have already put it on the chat. Satish Kalidindi from our team with the one with the name and phone number we have put it, but we will send it again. So these are the two questions I can see. The others are just comments. Hello.
Yes, Maha.
Yeah. So I think, thank you, everyone. These are the only questions, Sonal. Any other question you all have at any point of time, please feel free to reach out to that particular phone number. Satish will actually have him the details shared in also. Thank you for joining in such large numbers. We hope to see your school students, and your parents really being part of this whole journey. All the very best. We see that already in the first, second editions, your school has been part of the Group School Excellence Award with the kind of participation you had. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sonal, for organizing and helping us connect so many schools. So all the very best.
Thank you very much, Maha.